Welcome to the Amplifying Leadership podcast. Our topic is leadership, and our guests bring their knowledge, skills, and wins to help us all be better leaders. My name is Tara Lehman, and I'm a partner coaching consultant at Twin Life Coaching and Business Services. For our leadership clients, we aim to provide effective leadership information through this podcast, community coaching, and more. You can see all of our leadership offerings and information about our Amplifying Leadership community at amplifyingleadership.ca. Today, I am welcoming Felicity Nicole. Felicity is the owner of the She Is You brand, as well as an author. Thank you for joining our show today, Felicity.
Thanks for having me, Tara. I'm excited.
Me too. So I love to start my conversations with learning a bit more about you and your leadership journey so we can get to know you a little bit better.
Great. My leadership journey started about 22 years ago in the veterinary industry. Oh. I have always had a love for animals, and I started from the bottom and worked my way up to management. And what was an awesome experience for that was I had a lot of great bosses that could see my talent. What's really great about my brain is I'm dyslexic and I have an auditory processing disorder and ADHD. So we look at the bigger picture and we can see the bigger picture on what needs to be fixed. And we have the tendency to work backwards.
Okay.
And so that groomed me into being a leader in my business when I decided to exit out and start my business.
Well, that's amazing.
She Is You.
Yeah. And I love the She Is You name. That is very interesting. Can you tell us a little bit where that came from?
Yes.
She's laughing here.
I know. I love it because she is you, right?
Yeah.
She is you. I am you. I love that because it encompasses women as a whole, right?
Yeah.
So we think about it that way. When I decided to query my memoir, I got a letter from New York stating, we're not saying no, but nobody knows who you are. And memoirs are hard to sell. I was like, fantastic. Yeah. That's a yes. They're not saying no, but that's a yes.
I love that.
That's my mindset. So I go to my husband. Okay, it's time. Can I please build my community? I've always wanted to build an online community for women because I didn't have, as a domestic violence survivor, I did not have a community to turn to for support, emotional, mental support. I just kind of turned inwards and then did therapy. So he goes, fantastic, go for it, knock yourself out. So I grabbed some of my old journals. I've been journaling forever. And I pulled one from, let's say, like 2015-ish, maybe. And I'm flipping through it and I go, you know what? I think I'm going to go with She Is You. And he goes, that's great, but why don't you just keep brainstorming? And I keep flipping through it and I see a blurb from the date, like 2015. And I've got all these scribbles, and in the center around a bubble says She Is You. And I'm like, okay, if that wasn't confirmation from like higher spirit, creator, however you want to do it, I'm like, okay, check that off, name.
Yes, done, complete.
Yeah, next step. It's like you make these little boxes. Okay, what's the next step? Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that because we don't always get to learn where the names come from, but I think that one's brilliant.
I love it.
So you started talking about a lot of the obstacles that you've overcome, obviously, in your lifetime. When you consider that and the lessons that obviously you've learned as you've grown, how did those obstacles help you overcome things to better your leadership journey?
Oh, what a phenomenal question that is. I think the obstacles that were given to me were by far some of the best lessons to build that grit and resiliency that you need when starting a business and a brand from the ground up, and it being all self-funded. Because you're going to, and not having a business degree. I just, everything was just kind of through experience. And those lessons, those challenges definitely gave me the strength, the courage, the self-confidence with that, and the resiliency and grit to keep pushing forward, because I am not one to just say, forget about it, I'm done. I may say that in a temper tantrum when life gets
Yeah.
hard. I could see something else about it, but as women, we're just going to keep it polite and just say temper tantrum when you just feel like you can't go on any further and you just need to just take a mental break. And then the next day is a new day and you get right back onto it.
Yes, I was actually having a conversation this morning about mindset and about moving forward. And it's just using those, even the words that you're using and that I choose to use, are not about anything negative or like stuck in a past type words. It's about challenges, not mistakes and failures. It's about overcoming, not being stuck. It's about improving ourselves through all the obstacles and challenges and even maybe trauma that we've had in our lives, right? So positive mindset's huge. Is that something that you find more and more that comes up when you're having leadership discussions?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's what gets you out of bed in the morning. If you don't have a positive mindset, you are just going to attract everything that's going to be low vibrational, toxic, negative, however you want to put it. But that positive mindset, we have to be so aware of the words that we choose to come out of our mouth, because I don't think people realize we speak so much into existence. So the I can'ts, I can't do that. You just spoke that into existence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And something that I like that I've learned from over my years of experience, but also a book is saying the same thing is, it's not I can't, it's I can't yet. If you add the yet, then it's not final, right? And I loved that tool. And it's something I use with my clients all the time when they get into that negative mindset. I don't have enough money. Add the word yet.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. That could be one of the biggest blocks. When it comes to like abundance and bringing that in. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Your future's not here. Just like you said, right? You can change your path any way you want from this moment. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the communication side of positive mindset when we're leaders, because some leaders are good at it, but may not know how to put that out to their team. Do you have any thoughts around using communication to help bring more positivity out of not just ourselves by saying things like yet, but with team members? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. I'm going to dig into my book bag from back in the veterinary industry because I ran teams.
Awesome.
And this is great. I think one of the most important things is to be open and transparent and to be on their level. I never liked a boss that would look down upon. So I learned fast that we are all equals and we are here to do the same job, just maybe at different levels. And if I was open and honest and held a high, because I held a high standard for my employees, it was, how can we better this? So for an example, there was a receptionist that just could not seem to get the way we did our policies and procedures. And this was an area of struggle. And you could see she would mentally beat herself up. So I would have to constantly pull her aside and I'm going to call her Kimmy, for example, and just, Kimmy, cut yourself a break. We're all human here. Okay. What can I do to help you understand this better? What can we do to support you to understand this better? And it was simply just taking an afternoon when we were quiet and writing down some notes for her to post up everywhere. And, but it's a we.
It's a we. And you've heard there's no I in team. I say the same thing. There's no I in leader. Right? It's the whole team atmosphere. And yes, there needs to be some sort of decision maker or someone who can, maybe knows what the budget and stuff is. But a team is what makes a leader, right? Because you're helping them grow as well in all things leadership. So talk to us a little bit more about then your history around team building and maybe how you can use some effective tools to bring teams closer together. I mean, a lot of DEI work, diversity, equity, inclusion work has been done lately as well. So how can we make that everybody feels like they belong and can be heard in a team?
Well, I think the whole team then has to be open and willing to be accepted. So we don't bully. We don't do
Yes.
that. That's number one is we don't bully. We work together and we embrace one another. We may not be best friends, but in the workplace, you're going to learn to work together as cohesively as possible. And some of the ways that we would do team building would just be fun events, just to get together and get to know each other, whether it would be like, hey, let's go bowling on a Friday night at the end of the month. Or let's do, there's this great obstacle course out in one area that I worked at, where it was an outdoor obstacle course where
fun.
Yes, you high up in the trees and you literally had to use one another. And so that was fun. And then I always had boards up. I always had great job boards up, if that makes any sense, that we could put at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day or whatever part it was, whoever did something really good, it would be random. Just before you know it, the whole team was putting, hey, great job, such and such, for checking in all those clients really fast.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's like that support of each other. It's not just, yay, look what I did. Boss said I did well. It's, hey, Felicity, you did great on that, and maybe even did they ever share each other's knowledges so that they could strengthen weaknesses of one person and use the strengths of another?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially in that industry, because it is a very fast-paced, long-hour industry, and we work on what could you say, that the client's privilege. We work with the client like there is no saying no. That's the type of training. We don't say no. It's how can we get them in? You never say yeah. And so we all have to work together as a team, or you're going to be there for 15, 16 hours if you don't, And I got to tell you, Tara, there were days that you were there for 15 hours because you had an emergency come in 10 minutes before your closing. You can't turn that away. That's not good clientele. That's not good. No, these people trust us. They love us. We can't, absolutely not. We take them in. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the customer satisfaction side of teams, right? Making sure that your clients or your customers or whoever is using those products is getting something that the team put together and meant for it to be positive or work or whatever. It's not just, maybe it is someone just putting a widget in machine, but as long as the team's working together to build that end thing, as an example in manufacturing, everybody has to work together. Everybody has to make sure safety is there. And so in teams now, when we talk about communication, and what you're talking about made me think of this, is it's not just about physical safety anymore. It's about the psychological safety that we need in our teams and, how we can build that to people feel safe to come forward and say things rather than be nervous around their leadership. Were there any particular communication tools or other tools that you may have used that helped people feel comfortable speaking up in the team, especially newcomers?
Exactly. And I think as the climate has changed in our culture over the past, I would say like 5 years, I would definitely if I was still in the industry, I would say this is a safe space. We welcome, embrace all, because we've definitely shifted as a culture and we are embracing many different, pronouns and things like that. And people are going through, sex changes and don't want to be called their name and all that. And we have to respect that. And it's just, embracing it. So we're a safe place would be the first thing that I think highly recommend. And I say that in my community, we're a safe space. So,
and I think that's important. We do the same thing within ours. It's a safe, inclusive environment. You feel free to say what you need to say and are safe. Yeah, it's so important. And I love that you brought that up as the first communication that you have with the team is it's a safe environment. People need to know that. They need to hear it, especially when we are in this crazy world that we're in these days.
And it was interesting because I was on a podcast with another gal and she was specifically talking about how her industry was not safe because she's a Christian and they embraced I'm just going to say the woke movement. Okay. Just for terminology so everybody can understand However, she was shamed for speaking about Christ or her personal. And so for her, that was just a big shift right there. I'm like, well, you need to be able to freely talk about it if everybody else can freely talk about whatever's going on in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that needs to be addressed. It should be equal across the board, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. The equity piece that comes up in DEI for sure, right? Absolutely. Yeah. So I want to go back to communication for a moment. Is there any favorite communication tool that you use now or you did back when you were leading those teams that is something that works effectively that most leaders could learn from?
I think we just go with what's the acronym? I mean, there's that traditional acronym, like, what is it? SMART, I believe.
The SMART. Yeah. Specific. Yeah. The SMART goals.
That was that. In regards to we really do it at home, to be honest with you, with anything, because communication is one of the biggest challenges in my household, is being a good listener. It's like almost we have to hold a staff when we're talking, because we have the tendency to want to just respond instead of listen to understand in my household. And so we've gotten to the point where we have a talking stick. It's because it was just like everybody's talking over one another and it's only to respond and you're not really hearing. And that comes down to a disrespect of a boundary if you go deeper with that. So we definitely use, what is that, Stephen Covey, I think? Yeah, active listening is my absolute favorite communication tool, because if we don't listen to understand, we can't communicate to be understood. Exactly.
Right. I mean, it's that having that. And I love that you do a staff, even at home, like something that is a signal, because you're right. Everybody talks over everybody, especially at home, because it's not our workplace. We're not expected to be as professional. Right. And it is more difficult in some situations to not do that. So even taking that like stick or something, I love that you do that. I think it's great.
It was like the only thing that was going to keep us all sane and not miserable with each other, because I don't know if it's a Chicago thing or what it is, but we just are all talking over one another. Nobody was listening. And it wasn't until, so I think it was our family therapist, because I'm a blended family, where we had to intervene and say, okay, we got to figure this out, because nobody's listening. We're not solving any problems. You're just on a hamster wheel, spinning your wheel.
Yeah. And I think that, when we think about teams and even leadership, I think that's, if you have a team that's really aggressively talking over each other because maybe it's a hot topic, passing something around, or, the leader saying, okay, no, Felicity, it's your turn. No one is, we're all going to listen. We're not going to say anything until everybody has their turn, or something, right? Where you can almost flag it that we need to stop talking over each other, because then we're not listening and we don't take in exactly what they're trying to tell us. Right. I mean, yeah.
100%. And what's interesting is we can learn, and I'm sure, Tara, you may have picked up on this, we can actually learn that there might be some woundedness with that comes along. Yes. So yes. For my husband, he's never been heard. Even in the family business that he's currently in, they still have that dynamic where he's not heard. So he really struggles with communication and over talking, over sharing, not actually responding to what you say, just because he's so anxious to be heard. That's something that at the age of 63, he is trying really hard to modify. And I give him so much credit for that.
Yes. It's tough. Like, we do have triggers that, everybody probably has something from their past that can trigger how they communicate in certain situations or just in general. And we need to remember as leaders that everybody in our team is completely different, from a different background, perhaps different cultures, definitely different families. And we all may have different triggers on how we take in or give information and take in communication. So I like that you brought that up, because it's extremely important for us as leaders to remember that no one's the same. And I say that as being a identical twin. No one is the same on how we take in information. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So is there any part of leadership that you feel is a big piece to leading effectively? I mean, we talked about communication, so maybe we put that aside, but something else that really speaks to you that needs to happen for leaders to be excellent leaders?
I think it's for myself, it's the experience. So
I like that.
It is. So we can walk the walk or talk or however you want to put it, but I've like walked a journey. And so for me, with my clientele and when I have speaking engagements about overcoming trauma and growing into, the person you're meant to be as opposed to the person you were groomed to be, I speak a lot about the experience as a leader. And to me, that sets me apart from maybe the other people because I lived it, I breathed it, and I've overcome it. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a woman that's got complex PTSD. I saw my dad try to kill my mom at the age of 10.
Wow.
I was married to an abusive alcoholic for 10 or 11 years. I mean, I had to completely transform myself through many different modalities of therapy in order to get to where I'm at today. Yeah.
So it's about understanding who you are.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Understand what my triggers are, understand my communication skills, understand my attachment style, all of that. I can't tell you but that right there sets me apart, in my personal opinion, in the industry that I'm at as a leader, just because I bared that cross.
So the takeaway then from that would be you do the self-reflection about where you're at and maybe where some of those improvements need to be. Would you say that that's something that our leaders could take away?
100%. We can always improve something about us.
Yes. I always like to say there's no such word as perfect because nothing's perfect because everything can be improved. Right?
Yes. I just sent out a big email on Sunday, literally stating that. It was like, okay, so I'm not perfect. And it was funny. It got the most responses back with
I bet.
They're like, we love your honesty. It just shined through. Thank you for sharing, because we're not perfect.
Nope. No one is. And people who say that they're perfect, I mean, that's just, they need to do some self-reflection because nobody is ever perfect, and so I like to share that as well. And that's funny that you did that as well on Sunday. So let me ask you this. If we had to have a key takeaway from everything that we talked about today from you in order to help start to develop some leadership skills, let's just say over the next week, something small that we can do as a key takeaway, what would you say that would be?
I would set yourself a daily reminder each morning when you wake up. How can I be better than I was yesterday? That's
great.
Yeah.
That's self-reflection.
That could be anything. Yeah. From being kinder, being wiser to decision making, right? Sometimes we get a little reactive when we make a decision, maybe sitting back on that for a few.
I like that. And it's something that's so simple to do too, because you're just reflecting on yesterday. You're not reflecting on your whole life and where do I need to go from here? It's what can I do a little bit better than yesterday?
Exactly.
I love that. It's such a simple thing and it can take just a few minutes at the beginning of the day, even when you're at work, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you.
I love it.
Go ahead.
No, you just keep a little notepad in your desk.
I mean, and then if it's like midday and you think of something, right? Yeah. That's amazing.
On the wall over the coffee machine.
I like that.
I think of the movie Rudy, right? We think of the movie Rudy. I always go back to Rudy, that movie, because he is proof that all that hard work and determination, he was able to play one game. But as they were running out of the tunnel, what do those Notre Dame players do? They slap that sign. And that's what you need to do each time when you leave that break room. Slap that sign. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for that. That is the perfect way to end the conversation. Slap that sign. So Felicity, if people wanted to learn more about you, maybe they wanted to reach out, how can they find you online?
You could go to sheisyoumag.com. Obviously, there's a www. That's my website where you will be able to find everything about who I am, the books I have, the magazine that's coming out, the Midlife Woman's Magazine that's under She Is You, the membership to the community. My Instagram is Felicity_Nicole_, and I'm loving TikTok. And that is the @midlife healing journey. That's so much fun. So even though they're gathering our information, I still love it.
That's great. And midlife is a completely other topic. So we might have you back one day on how to handle that with leadership.
Oh, yeah.
That is, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for such an insightful conversation today. I greatly appreciate you being here.
I loved it, Tara. Thank you.
Thank you to our listeners. We do hope that you have gained some insights from today's episode. If you would like more information on our leadership coaching, consulting, or amplifying leadership community, where all are welcome, please visit us at amplifyingleadership.ca for Canada, a Twin Life Coaching and Business Services division. Until next time, please be safe and be an amazing leader or leader to be.